to play the clown. And I think a lot of people looked at him as a clown, but a clown that made them happy, made them feel better about themselves. It is, you know, that's a special gift. Not many people can do that. Not many people can be that comfortable, sort of playing the clown in that way, making themselves look in some ways unattractive, or you know, just to appear oafish. And that was something that Chris was willing to do, and he did it very well. I mean, there was a lot. It wasn't merely you know, portraying the oaf. There was a lot of, you know, cleverness and pathos to what he did that really made him, you know, just a wonderful person to watch at times.
Okay, Greg Fagan of TV Guide. Greg, thanks a lot. We are going to be doing a special at 6 o'clock called Saturday Night Lives on the death of Chris Farley, and look back at the others that have been lost, John Belushi, Gilda Radner, and others. And we are going to be taking your calls on your favorite Saturday Night Lives. Before we get to your calls on our News Chat question of the day or the Chris Farley story, let's go over to Lisa Kim and NBC News for the latest headlines, including the standoff at that Texas daycare center.
In Plano, Texas, police hope to negotiate the release of 2 children being held by a gunman in a daycare center. The hostages are believed to be the man's son and stepson. Earlier today, police say the gunman broke off talks for about 2 hours. He apparently was upset with live television coverage of his release of a 2-year-old girl identified as his goddaughter. In Denver, jurors are deliberating the fate of Terry Nichols for a 3rd day.
I'm talking to Audrey.
I got pictures, see? Here's me about to kill her. Here's me killing her. Here's me wrapping her in plastic.
That was comedian Chris Farley on a Saturday Night Live. It was a show that thrust him into the national spotlight. Farley was found dead today in an apartment in Chicago. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our special 1-hour coverage we are calling Saturday Night Lives. I'm John Gibson. Chris Farley was 33 years old, dying young like his idol, John Belushi, who had also been a star of the show. But there's another death that still hangs over the set of Saturday Night Live, comedian Gilda Radner, who also died young of ovarian cancer. Chris Farley was an over-the-top comedian, so much so, playing mainstream characters seemed sometimes out of character for him. But not for long. Just take a look at this sketch. Farley dressed as House Speaker Newt Gingrich performing in front of Newt Gingrich.
We'd like to introduce the Speaker of the House, the gentleman from Georgia, Newt Gingrich.
Thank you. All right. Okay, all right. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming. This is a huge turnout. By God, thank you. This is great. This is just great. I'm glad to see you all here. I'm reading a few new books right now. You might want to be interested in. Got Daniel Steele's Chances. That's a great new book. And Jackie Collins, Hollywood Husbands. Very interesting book. And of course my new dinosaur book. So I recommend all of them. They're all just great books. And anyway, I have 3 points to make here today, or 5 points. First, I want to thank ESPN2 for carrying my speech. Also, I'd like to thank the Gardening Channel. C-SPAN, and of course my friends at PBS. Also, for those of you watching the NET, open your textbooks to Chapter 6, and there will be a quiz on Monday. Anyway, we're here today to help celebrate the first 100 days of the Republican-controlled Congress. Oh, all right. And, of course, the passage of the contract with America. America. It's been a long 3 months, and I know we're all a little tired, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And by my watch, we still have about 10 minutes left. So before the first days are officially up. Let's get to it. Now, let's show America how many bills a Republican Congress can pass in 10 minutes when we're not hampered by bizarre, weird Democrats. Okay, first up, H.R. 765, which would cut taxes for the middle class, lower the deficit, and at the same time, all in favor. I can't hear you. All right. Also, a motion that tax cut bill doesn't have to go through Senate. All in favor? All right. All opposed? You know what? I don't care. You don't get to vote. All right, let's keep moving. We got 9 minutes left. H.R. 433, which would make Senator Mark Hatfield officially a Democrat. All in favor? All right.
Chris Farley before a caucus of the GOP. We're joined now by Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter Tom Shales of the Washington Post. Tom joins us on the phone. Tom, what is it about Farley, or what is it about this kind of character? He idolized John Belushi, and he was a lot like John Belushi. Why do we find this kind of character so funny?
The intense physicality, I think, for one thing. You know, imitating Newt Gingrich was kind of the thing he didn't do very much. He made use of his enormous body in very funny ways, throwing it around the set, crashing through tables, doing physical comedy in the grand tradition of that. And I think he's the type of person who just walks onto the screen or into a room and you start to smile and you're ready to laugh, and he made you laugh.
Tom, you know, there's going to be a lot of...
There's Conan O'Brien, by the way, on the left in that sketch.
Yeah, not very redhead there, is it?
No.
There's going to be a lot of introspection about this. Yeah, you know there will be. It's like tragedy begetting tragedy. Here's Belushi in his own tragic spiraling down, idolized by this young guy who rises to Belushi's status and seems to go through the same thing. I mean, what are we to make of this?
I don't know. I mean, he was a living monument to excess, and he celebrated it. He didn't try to hide it. He was jolly about it, and he made himself the butt of jokes in his movies, somewhat the way Belushi did. It's terribly sad. And one thing was that when we watched him on Saturday Night Live in those strenuous sketches, when he was that demented coach or one of his other characters, and he would twirl himself into such a fit and do so much physical humor, we all kind of shuddered for him because he's a great big man, and we thought, is this safe? Is he going to be all right? I think he liked living on that dangerous edge, and I think his comedy had a lot of danger to it. People think he was a very simple comedian, just physical slapstick. I think he was always on the edge, and very daringly so.
Tom, what about his personal life? I mean, do you suspect, or is there anything you think you can think about this? That maybe just he was overweight, or he stressed himself too much? He said in one of these later interviews that he was trying hard not to be the person he played. Does anybody know if he was successful at that?
That I don't know. The only thing we shared personally was the same fat farm. We both went to the same fat farm in South Carolina, and I don't think it did either one of us much good. And then there's the whole idea of if he lost all that weight, would he still be as funny? And I'm sure he had people telling him that his fat was his fortune in a way. It was such a part of his persona, and it was part of what made us laugh. And he was laughing with us. And I don't know. I don't know what conclusions are to be drawn. Except that the very talented die young sometimes, and I think we could have expected great things from him. His comedies were low budget, his movies that is, and silly, but they were funny, and he was unfailingly funny in them.
You know, there's always somebody who wants to be funnier. It's sort of like the old gunfighter dilemma in the old days. What was it that Chris Farley did to break in? I mean, what's the track that the guy behind him is going to follow to be the next Belushi, Farley, fill in the blank?
I guess you'll have to try to be louder, more physical, more outrageous, more daring. You know, when a large man like that takes a pratfall, there's always an element of suspense in it and nervousness in the audience, and yet when he comes out all right, we laugh with him. So whoever comes next to follow in those footsteps, you know, they'll have to be even more outrageous, I suppose, than Chris Farley was.
And evidently more resilient. Tom Shales of the Washington Post. Tom, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, more Saturday Night Lives. Farley, Belushi, Radner. We're going to take a look back at the great ones who've made us laugh and are no longer with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Puppy. He was funny. He made everyone laugh. And I truly and genuinely liked him.
Tonight,
the movie's price tag is as staggering as the disaster it brings to life.
It's chilling just to think of it, that you know, Belushi, who was, you know, of course, such a hero to Chris Farley right from the time that Chris Farley saw him in Animal House when he was 18. It was something that, you know, Chris Farley said, hey, you know, I'm a big guy. I like to make people laugh. He saw how the film made his father laugh, and he said, this is what I want to do. I want to be a comedian. I want to be the big, fat, funny guy. And he went ahead and did it and fulfilled, you know, all of his dreams in that regard. I mean, managed to become a regular not only at Second City, as Belushi had, but also on Saturday Night Live for 4 years, where he, you know, sort of was always seen as an heir to John Belushi. Unfortunately, I think there was also a side of Belushi's life, that side that he always wanted to push the limits and be the guy who was always the biggest howl at the party, that Chris also wanted to fulfill. And, you know, and that blurring of the character and the person, I think, is something that gave him ultimately a terrible time and brought him to this untimely death.
Well, let's not dance around this. You know, Belushi died of a drug overdose. And I understand that Chris Farley had his own drug rehab episodes, but is there anything about this that should cause one to suspect that it was something other than a simple heart attack brought on by somebody's overweight?
Not based on anything that I've heard, read, or anybody that I've spoken to about it in the past several hours. Of course, nobody seems to suggest that there's any reason to suspect that it was anything besides a heart attack. Of course, there were reports that he'd recently come out of rehab, but that, you know, would lead one to believe that perhaps he was this was not something that was directly drug related.
Greg, what do you think about, you know, we always think that there is a legacy of Gilda Radner, and there's a legacy of John Belushi, and there's a legacy of Saturday Night Live itself. How does Farley fit in that or set himself apart from it?
Well, he certainly fits into that period of Saturday Night Live. I mean, we look back more than 20 years of Saturday Night Live now, where it has produced not only great television comedy, but many of our great film comics have also sprung forth from that program. It is, I mean, Chris Farley, with his work in films, I think fits into that pantheon. His fans are legion. There are many websites dedicated to him. I'm sure that, you know, after this there will be many more, and people will, you know, perhaps several years from now begin to look back. And when I say people, I refer to people who perhaps have been more harshly critical of his performances. I think that there'll be, upon reflection, perhaps a greater appreciation
of the way he put himself into his roles and the way he put himself into his comedy.
Well, what was the criticism? Anybody can gain a lot of weight, throw himself at a wall?
It's the, you know, some people felt perhaps he was making fun of heavy people. Some people felt that, oh, you know, yeah, you can just gain weight and, you know, throw yourself against walls and do slapstick. There's not a grand appreciation of that form of comedy in the age of Seinfeld. You know, and people want something that's snarky, that's clever, that's sort of hip and happening and really sharp comedy. But, you know, for Chris Farley, he was something of a throwback. You know, an individual who was willing to portray the clown. We don't have that many clowns, and unfortunately, we've lost another one.
Let's just say that I had spent the last few years actually on another planet, and I didn't know anything about Chris Farley. Can you describe him?
He's a big fella. He's a guy who, you know, from Wisconsin. He's a man who's willing to live fully, to you know, play the heavy-set clown, to perhaps be a bit uglier than, you know, your typical performer is willing to be. A person who makes, I guess, in some instances, makes people a bit more comfortable with that sort of notion of being gross, I guess. And he did a very good job of it.
All right, Greg Fagan, stand by a second. As we have been talking about, Chris Farley successfully made the transition from Saturday Night Live to the big screen. Let's take a look now at an interview Chris Farley and his Saturday Night Live co-star David Spade did with the Today Show's Matt Lauer as they were promoting the film Tommy Boy.
Chris Farley and David Spade are back on the big screen together. This time they're starring in the new road comedy, Tommy Boy.
Talk about lame.
Totally. You can change it if you want.
I don't care. It's up to you.
I can live with it if you can.
Suit yourself.
Guys, good morning.
Good morning.
It is morning, isn't it? You're not used to these hours.
Yeah. No, I was just out at the lake.
Over here?
It's a gorgeous day, you can tell.
Yeah, we'll run that in just for you. You guys have done movies before. You were in Coneheads together, but you're the stars. You're the headliners of this one. Does that make it more fun or simply add more pressure than the last movie?
Well, Coneheads wasn't a huge hit here, Matt. It's international success. It's very different. We're huge stars in Bulgaria. Can't step foot in Holland. We want to, we can't. But I'd say, yeah, for this thing, sure, it's weird to, anything else we've done, most of us, he's in Wayne's World and these other movies, we're always like either cameos or just kind of supporting. So to have our own movie, is terrifying, but we got lucky. You know, it's lucky to have, you're in a movie that you get to help write and help, you know, be in, and then you get an actual studio, not like a straight-to-video thing, so, and a movie that we think is funny, so we got lucky.
We also have a great cast, too. Brian Dennehy, Dan Aykroyd, Bo Derek, Rob Lowe, you know, teamed up with a great director, Pete Siegel, and then Lauren Michaels producing, you know, it's a...
Give me an overview, though. What is Tommy Boy about? You're Tommy Callahan in the movie. What's your story?
Well, Tommy's kind of a screw-up guy who doesn't take life too serious.
Oh, man, that's cold. I'm a maniac on the fall.
He, you know, is a screw-up in college, goes to work for his dad at his dad's company, and keeps screwing up, and then he has to get his act together and find out that life isn't just you know, all fun and games, and David Spade's character, Richard, helps him through the transition of kind of growing up and taking charge.
It helps him, though, but in the movie, you two are not thrilled with one another at the outset. Why doesn't Richard like Tommy?
Well, I'm the brains and he's the laughs. That's the problem with the thankless job for me, is that no one thanks you. I'm kind of more organized than by the book, and I work for his dad, and he doesn't value his dad the way I did, you know, because I work for him. He kind of blows in after a 7-year stint in college. So I don't want to work with him. I don't like the way he does things. But we wind up getting forced to go on the road together on a sales trip.
I'm ready. Hey, does this suit make me look fat?
No. Your face does. Okay, check you out. All right.
It's a clip, huh? Are you sure? All right, now, it's sale time, so remember, we don't take no
from anyone.
No?
We don't take no prisoners.
We don't take no for an answer.
Oh, yeah. We don't take no for an answer. We don't take no for an answer. We don't take no.
We shouldn't be out there together.
You also mentioned that Bo Derek's in this movie. I don't think we have time to get into which one of you had an affair with her on the set.
Hello, Matt! Matt! Dear Lord!
We're going to take a look now as we're going to a break. A picture of the ambulance leaving the Hancock building in Chicago today, carrying the body of Chris Farley after it was discovered. When we come back from this break, reports from WMAQ's Charlie Wojciechowski in Chicago and NBC's own Ann Thompson double reports live Chris Farley's death right after this.
This is NBC News at this hour.
Hello, I'm Lisa Kim, and the headlines at this hour. TV and film comedian Chris Farley has been found dead in a Chicago apartment. Farley was a veteran of the Second City comedy troupe and Saturday Night Live TV show. He often played a bumbling, overweight, chain-smoking character. Chris Farley appears to have died from a heart attack. He was 33 years old.